Is there a league you want to discuss first here, Thorin, as we dive in to this week? We could talk about, actually, you know what we could talk about is the Esports World Cup, because we have all the matches.
Oh, true.
Coming up, and we are going to be...
And also, technically, even though it's via drama, Monty, you can already infer some of the people who are working as talent. Spoiler, it's implied by the people so far named. A lot of the big names haven't said yes to this one, Monty. It looks actually like a lot of them are steering clear, although that's where I do wonder, by the way. This isn't a one-time thing, guys. This is going to happen every year. So my question is when do you give in? If, you know what I mean?
The clues, the trail of crumbs are leading directly to MSI in Riyadh next year. And are you going to say no to MSI is going to be the next question, because mysteriously Riot said, hey, we're going to have MSI later this year. It's going to be the start of July instead of May, like when it usually is. What does that coincide with? Oh, right, the Esports World Cup. So it seems very convenient timing. Like, are they really going to run over, like not do the Esports World Cup next year and just program MSI over the top of it? Or, I mean, the other problem, Thorin, is like, if the Esports World Cup lasts about a couple months, but if MSI takes 3 weeks, what are you going to do? Have another international tournament 3 weeks after that, or 2 weeks after that?
No way.
So it seems very likely that that's going to be the case. And there isn't a world where, if you want to be a caster, that you don't end up working with the Saudis at some point in time, because guess what? Every developer is trying to give them control of their esport because they'll pay for it, and that means the developers don't have to do it, guys. So fortunately, that's the world we live in. So if you are a caster, you will be doing this eventually. You might as well just crumble now. But this event, and as we said, we will cover this while talking about all of the issues, because it's a major international tournament, and not covering it, guys, doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? There's going to be international matches that are played, and we can actually discuss the problems with Saudi Arabia. Unlike all of the teams and the people who are going to this event, we can actually cover it and talk about the problems at the same time. So that
what's the difference there, Monty? Here's the distinction. We can just talk about the problems. They say they can talk about the problems. Do you see the distinction there? It's quite a key one, really, actually, when you think about it. But
it's also,
people have missed that one.
When you're trying to spend all this money to enact sports washing, you can simply not allow them to sports wash by talking about all the problems with it. Because that's how sports washing works. They are purchasing PR. So if you guys watch our shows and watch us talk about these games, we'll talk about the problems as well.
You know what, Monty? I'll be careful how I say this, just to protect certain confidentialities. But all I'll tell you is, you know that recent set of tweets from Team Liquid over the last few weeks? Let me just say this. I imagine there might be people in Team Liquid who actually aren't excited by the prospect, Monty, that we're going to be the ones that push the line and wear a Pride jersey to Saudi Arabia. Like, I'm already going, mate. I'm a bit uncomfortable with that anyway. I'm also now going to wear the Pride jersey. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, I can just tell you some people aren't a fan of that. So
yeah. And also, unfortunately, the public perception of not doing that, Thorin, is not very good, because if you decide not to wear your Pride jersey, well, maybe people will jump all over you for not supporting, gay people. So I feel like it's kind of lose-lose with that announcement.
But anyway, to bring it back to the beginning, the reason why I set it up that way is I'm not about to now say that some giant caster did it. If you look at the casters who've already come out...
Oh, we know Atlas is going because he was already announced, right?
No, that's a famous one. I mean the ones that have come out themselves, like these smaller ones in NA, right? If you look at who they are, if you go and look at their bio, they all do like a path to LCS, which isn't LCS with it. So essentially, they're like nobodies in NA, which already implies, one, the big names turned them down, and then two, I also think there's another cynical part, Monty. There's two parts to this. One, I think it's even smarter in a way, because you let all the first wave of people will take the most abuse, Monty, from all the people. Like, how can you work with them? Once it's like next year and 2 years, people will stop. Every year it will be diminishing returns on how much people care about people working this event. So what you do is you let the fucking play. In this scenario, this guy's like the fucking cannon fodder. You just this is Stalingrad, and he's the guy with no gun. You know what? You go first, and then we'll send the people with the real guns who actually we need alive. We'll send them later, Like, there's that. And then also, I'm just going to say this now, Monty. Since they're all all doing the same exact script. It goes like this. I'm sorry to tell you guys, you might be disappointed, but you know what? I need the money, and also I'm donating to charity. Since they all say that, I'm even starting to feel like they might have even been told to do that, mate. Like, I couldn't believe they're even cynical. Do you know what? Do you want the most cynical take of all? I'll give you it, Monty. Here's the most cynical take of all. Since we the Saudis have heard that you're having sort of a messaging problem, a PR issue, as you say in the West. So how about, as part of the fee, we'll give you a little stipend and you donate it to a charity of your choice? That would be even more genius, wouldn't it? Imagine that, guys. You've never even thought of that, guys, have you? I'm not saying it's happening, but I'll tell you what, it's a bit suspicious everyone's doing it now. Magically, everyone's just giving the money to charity. What's this? And I'll never understand what that logic is, Monty. Can you? You know what? I understand I'm autistic and I do go a bit too hard on logic, but I want you to try and explain to me this scenario. Okay. So in this equation, right, as far as with a bit of separation, I'm exaggerating for effect here. Essentially, to me, the Saudis line up a bunch of people on the wall and they're about to machine gun them to death. And as they're doing it, this is an exaggerated metaphor, as they're about to do it, it's this week's executions. It's each year, actually.
They also behead them. They don't actually machine gun them.
No, whatever. I'm making it cooler, though. They're about to do the execution, right? And as they're about to do it, they turn and they go, oh shit, I have to organize the Esports. Pause a second. You guys who are going to work this event, right? Like, are you working the event or not? Like, tell me now, are you in? And then you go, well, yeah, but right after you kill those people, I'm going to give a tiny amount of the money you gave me to a charity, though. It's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking? How would that make it better? What? What?
It's also
that is such a non sequitur to me. That's like saying, yeah, they do murder people, but I'm going to go and hug a koala bear afterwards. It's like, well, good for the koala bear. What are you talking about? How would that stop the people being killed? That doesn't mean you care about that. Like, what the fuck?
Well, it's also that the charities that they're donating to are not actually going to be the ones.
There'll be some Western shit, exactly. They're not going to be. They're not giving it to someone who's going to fight them. Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to be like donating to charities that are supporting Saudi women who have been imprisoned for talking about women's rights, right? And if they did, Thorin, and they made that public, guess who's not getting an invitation back to Saudi Arabia?
It's almost like, Monty, the scenario doesn't work, does it? It's almost like that's not what they want, is it? It's almost like, Monty, they want you to give your donation to someone where it's irrelevant and doesn't affect their evil machinations and what they're actually doing in real life. Like, and I love that angle as well. I'll never get the Frankie at Ward angle. It's like, I really care about gay people being killed. Well, I mean, it's very virtuous. Like, you should care about that. You're a good person. Yeah, but rent's a bit slow. Maybe kill a few. It's like, what are you talking? Again, I'll never understand how these people think these excuses don't even touch the sides, guys. What are you talking about? What is I need the money? What even is that? Also, I'm just going to put this out there because I'll never get that angle, Monty. You know what? I would be really sad if I had to leave esports. If I couldn't work in any context and I was kicked out of the industry for real, that would be very sad. I've put a lot of time in it. But I'll tell you what, mate. I would just get another job. You know what I mean? Like, to me, what I'll never understand about that is if the option is like work with people who kill people, and I say my whole life's about caring about those people, I'll just go work in a fucking petrol station. You know what? Is that not a meaningful sacrifice if you care about those people? I think that's a pretty reasonable ask. Go work in a call center. By the way, just do a different career if you want.
It's also the sense of entitlement, Thorin, that like gets me in this situation, which is like, and I have said, by the way, I think casters should take these gigs because there's no escaping from it, but just take the gig and walk away. Like, don't try and be like, well, this isn't as bad if I donate part of the money. It's like, it's the same bad. You're just being an idiot. And like, don't do the thing. I mean, the funniest thing was my mental health angle. It's like, I have to do this for my mental health. And at that point, you're just asking yourself like, all right, guys, well, what about the mental health of the people who are in prison in Saudi Arabia and having their human rights violated? What about their fucking mental health? You know what I mean? So the whole thing is just like outrageous and narcissistic. And it's like, just own the narcissism. Just say, I am going to go do this because I want the bag. But it's also the sense of entitlement, Thorin, because look, entertainment is a hard industry, guys. And like, people are always going to get taken advantage of. And if you can't work super hard and have a lot of talent, you're not going to make it to the top, right? And this is a way where you can get noticed. And also part of it's luck and part of it's getting noticed and part of it's putting yourself out there at the right time. And this could be a ladder up for people, which I think is, I think many people would be smart to try and climb this ladder. But just don't virtue signal while you're doing it. Like, come on, you know what you're doing. You're just a little rat scurrying up a ladder, and just own it. Just own it and say, I
Here's
really
the
want
metaphor.
this.
Are you ready? The metaphor is the ladder is made out of the bodies of gay people and women. And as you're climbing up and your boot crushes into that guy's head who's barely alive, he goes, help. And you go, I've got the pin on. Look, I love gay people. Excuse me, I need to get to the top of the ladder. And then if the guy goes, but what about me? I'm gay too. And then you go, if I don't do this, someone else will. I'll never get that one, by the way. That is the one I don't think I'll ever understand. Like, they're killing people, Monty. Well, won't they still kill people if I don't do? How would that ever make sense? The rationalizations?
Yeah, but you actually don't have to be part of it.
Yeah,
but anyway,
rationalizations are almost more sinister than doing it, guys. Like, what a weird set of rationalizations.
We've talked about this on this show, Thorin, before, but it's like the way both of us got into esports. There was no money in esports when we got in. I got in by volunteering my time as a team manager for a professional team at the time, and I didn't get paid at all. I spent my time building journalism websites, guys, where I not only didn't get paid, I lost money because I was spending money creating the websites, right? And so I was spending money sending myself to events to cover them. I never even conceived that I could get a full-time job in esports. You know, I thought it was pretty fun when, I was working in a law firm in New York, and on weekends I was able to go do MLG events in like Dallas and Raleigh and shit and cast those. I was hosting my own tournaments and paying myself basically nothing to run events in the early days of League of Legends. Thorin, you were working for a pittance writing articles, and it's like we all either lived on that pittance or we had other things. Like, my question to some of these people, if you are saying that I need this bag to survive, how are you, like, reflect upon your own life and how you got to this point where you don't have anything else going on. And especially professional casters, you guys, for the most part, and I'm saying this about my former colleagues, have sat on your ass for 10 years working 2 days a week, 2 or 3 days a week, and you don't have any personal brands, you don't have any content, you've got fucking nothing. You have built nothing for yourself that you own or other ways to monetize. You've developed no other skills. You don't have business skills. You literally just sat on a broadcast doing the bare fucking minimum for a decade. And like, now you're confused about why you're fucked? Like, come on. And if you are in the tier 2 scene or you're coming out and you're saying like, well, I need this. It's like, why were you investing your entire life in tier 2 League of Legends to the point where you need this? Like, my question for you is, what happens if this bag didn't come along? What would have happened to you? Like, if you need it so badly, like, you couldn't have counted on this. It's like, it is ridiculous that the bag fell to you. Somebody else should have gotten the bag way before you did. They offered 30 people the bag before they offered it to you. So how could you have possibly known you were going to get this money? I don't begrudge you for taking it, by the way. I think you should take it. But it's like, how are we at this point? Like, how are you at this point in your lives? And like, you are not entitled to a full-time esports job. Many of us had to work for years in the industry to get to that point in time, as you have. And it's like, welcome to entertainment, buddy. Welcome. This is how it goes. You get paid shit for a long time. And then if you're lucky enough to break through, then you can actually make, sometimes a lot of money. But also, the other excuse you're going to hear, not only from League of Legends, Thorin, but from other places, is people are going to start saying this line. It's life-changing money. It's not life-changing money, guys. Life-changing money is like $250,000. Like, that is life-changing money in a lump sum all at once. That's a down payment on a fucking house. You know what I mean? That literally can change your whole life. If you are getting $20,000, that ain't fucking changing your life, dude. That's just the only thing that is doing is staving off the inevitable for a few months. That's it. So do not believe people when they say this is life-changing money, because it ain't. It ain't. Like, surely you have skills that could earn you $20,000. Like, maybe not that fast, but it's not going to drastically, alter the outcome of your existence. And Thorin, frankly, if you need that money and it does, you probably shouldn't have been doing esports. That probably was very irresponsible of you. If $20,000 can change your life, you should not be doing esports. The
joke is, if you want to make $20,000 quick, just become a high-paid escort. At least you'd have some dignity. And no one would die in that equation. So,
So
I wouldn't do it again. Not in that case.
That's
one thing, by the way. I agree with you. People who came to esports before it was a giant industry, like, we didn't come because there was a career. Like, I would have worked part-time and done esports stuff as long as I wanted to. I'd even say that as an argument now. Like, people do this thing all the time where they make it binary to make it more obvious why they justify what they do. Can't you just work some events and then do a part-time job? You know what I mean? Do like 20 hours a week. Couldn't that pay your rent? You know what I mean?
Look at us, Thorin. We're doing all these esports podcasts right now, and you're doing all your content and your Substack, and like, this is our primary shit. But you know what we do for fun? We do fucking movie podcasts. And it's like, it's great, but is that paying any bills? No, we're doing it because you and I know that on a long enough timeline, we can just chip away at it over years and years and years and years. And then eventually it becomes something, right? But there's always, there's always another angle you're working. You're trying to get your finger into another pie. And it's like, yeah, the show is doing well. The culture channel for Last Free Nation is our fastest growing channel. We're all very proud of the content that goes on that channel. We're trying really hard. We really enjoy making that content. But this is the side hustle we're doing right now, guys. That's the side hustle. And I don't see the side hustles from other people. You have to just constantly be trying to diversify, and then eventually you can kind of integrate that more and more into your primary living, which is what we did with esports. We didn't start full-time in esports. And for a lot of people, it's like, well, you guys have been here forever. It's like, yeah, because I started working in esports in 2004. It's been 20 years, guys. It took me, and granted, I wasn't working that entire time period between 2004 and 2012, but I did not get a full-time job in esports until 2012. It took me 8 years, right? It took me 8 years, an enormous sacrifice, because the job was in Korea, a country I had never been to before, and I had to move there from New York City in 2 weeks. And if I had missed that opportunity, who the fuck knows what would have happened to me? Like, I had to drop everything in my life and leave. And if you're not willing to like pack it up and do that, you're gonna have a hard run.
The one rationalization that does have a grain of truth to it, Monty, is the rationalization that it's affecting people's mental health if they don't work at this event. Because technically, Monty, the Saudis do care about mental health, because you can't have mental health if your whole head is chopped off.
That's right.
That's like some Stalin level quote, no head, no mental health problems. That's like a Stalin level quote, isn't it? And by the way, I do love those insane quotes, like, no man, no problem. It's like, fucking hell. Okay, Joe, I never thought of that one. You certainly got me on that.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.